Rejection activates one of the most consistently studied pain circuits in modern neuroscience. It lights up regions nearly identical to physical injury directly. Most people respond to that pain in specific ways. Those ways make it linger far longer than necessary. Stoic philosophy, oddly, mapped out a very specific list of things to avoid after rejection. Neuroscience now confirms why each one backfires. The first thing Stoics never do is replay the moment on a loop. They do not search for a different outcome inside their own head. Neuroscience explains why this urge feels so compulsive. The brain treats unresolved social pain as an open loop. It feels like something incomplete, demanding closure. Replaying the moment feels like progress toward that closure, falsely. It almost never actually delivers that closure. Studies on rumination show something specific. The loop typically intensifies distress instead of resolving it. It strengthens the exact neural pathway you are trying to escape. Second, Stoics never treat rejection as proof of their own worth. Epictetus built his entire framework around this exact distinction deliberately. He taught that another person's choice belongs to them, not to you. Their rejection reveals something about their preferences. It does not reveal anything about your value. Neuroscience adds an important layer here. The brain naturally personalizes social rejection. It treats rejection as core identity information rather than situational data. That personalizing tendency is precisely what turns a single event into a lasting wound over time. Third, Stoics never obsessively seek reassurance from other people to undo the sting. This one feels counterintuitive. Reassurance seems soothing in the moment, at first. Research on co-rumination shows something surprising. Repeated reassurance seeking actually keeps the threat circuitry activated longer. Each retelling reactivates the original pain pathway instead of closing it. Marcus Aurelius wrote about returning attention inward. He rejected constantly outsourcing peace to other people's opinions, centuries before this research existed. Fourth, Stoics never immediately pursue a replacement just to prove they are still wanted. Neuroscience calls this a threat-driven approach behavior. It means reaching for anything that quiets the alarm quickly rather than addressing what actually triggered it. Chasing quick validation after rejection often installs a shakier foundation. Simply tolerating the discomfort directly tends to work better. Seneca warned about grasping desperately for comfort. This usually just delays a harder reckoning with the same underlying fear. Fifth, Stoics never assume rejection says something universal. They do not assume everyone will respond to them the same way going forward. This is a well-documented cognitive distortion. Researchers call it overgeneralization. Brain imaging shows something specific. A single rejection event, left unexamined, can quietly recalibrate a person's baseline expectation for future rejection. It essentially teaches the brain to expect rejection everywhere. Epictetus explicitly separated single events from sweeping conclusions. He insisted that one instance never logically proves a universal pattern. Sixth, Stoics never punish themselves harshly, even as a form of perceived control. When something painful happens for reasons outside your control, self-blame can feel oddly comforting. It offers an explanation you can supposedly fix. Neuroscience shows this comfort is mostly an illusion, unfortunately. Self-punishment activates the same threat circuitry as the original rejection. It essentially doubles the pain instead of resolving anything useful. Marcus Aurelius distinguished sharply between fair correction and pointless self-attack. He treated only the first one as genuinely useful. Seventh, and most important, Stoics never let rejection dictate their next action. They refuse pure emotional reactivity. This principle is the culmination of everything above. Neuroscience calls the gap between stimulus and reaction the window for executive control. This is the brief period where the slower, reasoning prefrontal cortex catches up with the faster emotional alarm. Stoic training was largely designed to widen that exact window. It used repeated practice, journaling, and deliberate reflection before responding to painful events. None of these 7 principles ask a person to feel nothing after rejection, ever. Feeling the sting was never the actual problem Stoicism was trying to solve. The problem was the second wave instead. That includes everything a person does after the sting that extends and deepens it unnecessarily. Neuroscience increasingly agrees with this. Most long-term damage from rejection comes not from the event itself, but from the response pattern layered on top of it afterward. There is a practical version of all 7 principles combined into a single, usable sequence. Notice the pain without immediately obeying its urgency. Resist the pull to replay the moment for a different outcome. Separate the rejection from your actual worth as a person. Avoid outsourcing your calm entirely to reassurance from others. Resist the urge to chase quick replacement validation. Refuse to generalize one event into a permanent pattern. Choose fair reflection over harsh self-punishment. Widen the gap before reacting, even slightly, every single time. Marcus Aurelius was rejected, criticized, and opposed throughout his entire reign. This happens to any public figure, inevitably. He was not remembered for being immune to any of it at all. He was remembered for a specific, repeatable discipline instead. He never let any single instance of rejection write the rest of his story. Neuroscience today can finally explain exactly why that discipline worked. But the discipline itself was never waiting on the explanation to become effective. Consider 2 people rejected from the same opportunity on the same day. One immediately replays the conversation, texts 3 friends for reassurance, applies to something else within the hour just to feel wanted again, and quietly concludes that this is simply how things always go for them. The other feels the sting fully, writes down what actually happened in plain language, and returns to their normal routine within a day or 2. Both experienced an identical external event. Only one of them is still carrying it a month later. Researchers studying resilience after social rejection have found something consistent across many different studies. People who recover fastest are not the ones who felt the least pain initially. Their pain, measured immediately after the event, is often just as intense as everyone else's. The real difference shows up afterward, in exactly the 7 behaviors described above, none of which have anything to do with suppressing the initial hurt. Epictetus captured this entire idea in a single distinction he returned to constantly throughout his teaching. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Whether someone rejects you was never up to you in the first place. What you do in the minutes, hours, and days immediately afterward remains entirely up to you, every single time, regardless of how the original rejection happened or why. This does not mean the 7 principles are easy to apply in the actual moment. Knowing intellectually that rejection is not proof of your worth rarely stops the sting from landing hard the first time. Stoic writers were honest about this difficulty. Epictetus repeatedly told his students that philosophy was not a lecture to be admired from a distance, but a discipline to be practiced under real pressure, usually badly at first, before it ever became second nature. Neuroscience offers a small piece of encouragement here that the ancient texts could not have known directly. Each time a person deliberately widens that gap between stimulus and reaction, even slightly, the neural pathway supporting that pause gets marginally stronger. This is simply how learning works at a cellular level. The 7th principle, refusing to react purely out of emotional urgency, is not a fixed trait some people happen to have. It is a skill built the same way any skill gets built, through repeated, deliberate practice under exactly the conditions that make it hardest.